Welcome everyone to this session. The name is very what do you call it, big, packing a punch, writing ad campaigns that roll with it. And today we have our associate adjunct professor Selva, who is our Taylor's alumni, by the way, for those of you who don't know, right? He has been working in advertising since he was an advertising student. Okay, so he's very, very gung-ho like that. So he has been in the industry for quite a while, and for such a young copywriter, I'm happy to share that he's already won a lot of awards and a very notable projects under his belt. He's currently working with Volvo. He's worked with Heineken or Carlsberg, if I'm not mistaken. All right. He's worked on various projects that he will share with us in a short while. He has won awards at Star, D&AD, Kanchil, Cresta, and the One Show Agency of the World. He is currently attached to Grey Group Malaysia Worldwide, and I hope this will be a wonderful opportunity for you all to get to know him a little bit closer, and to basically just embrace, the workings of the media and advertising industry. So for now, welcome Selva once again, right? Always happy to join us and impart your knowledge. So I'll leave the floor to you.
Thanks, Ms. Z. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So as Ms. Z said, I'll just share a bunch of work that I've done so far. So obviously this, what I like to share when people ask me about, what do? I always share them my CV. I put my CV on a Google Doc, so it's easy to share it around. But yeah, what is it that I do? I am a copywriter. I started in 2018 September, literally I think a month after I sat for my last paper. I think my last paper was with Ms. Z or Miss Leila. I think that was my last paper I sat for, and then a month later I was already working. And yeah, Miss Z also knows like I've always been eager to get into this field, and she's been always one of my strongest supporters, always gave me the opportunity and helped me figure out a way to balance between work and studies. So yeah, what have I done in the last few years? One of the first jobs that I did when I first started in the industry was this Your Plastic Diet. So this occurred simply because in my first month, there was a brief from WWF and they wanted to do something about plastic. It's probably the biggest issue that they are facing right now. And most oftentimes than not, when it comes to these kind of environmental crises, they tend to find giving awareness isn't enough. You need to kind of make changes on a governmental level. And that was the brief. How can we get governments to sign up on a treaty or some kind of global binding law that could kind of limit the use of single-use plastic? And that's what we did. And this came about simply because what happened was there was a study I came across called, it was done by, I think, this Nordic university, where they did this whole thing on seashells. And they found out there was like microplastics in seashells. And they kind of surmised that, okay, people, on average, you can find X milligrams amount of plastic or micrograms in any kind of seafood. So then it just got me thinking, like, well, okay, if the average person eats X amount of seafood, then how much plastic is it that we're actually consuming? And it turns out is that we consume about 5 grams of plastic a week unknowingly. And then we had the idea, we kind of mocked it up, flashed it out, and then presented it. We worked with WWF with another university in Australia to basically validate that findings. And once it was validated, we just carried on with the campaign, and this is what the campaign led to, basically. And now we've got, I think, about almost this is a slightly older case board, but I think for now we've gotten about like close to 200 countries signing on the pledge to kind of end plastic use. And also we've got the states trying to do their own thing. And it's crazy because this reminder is in your pocket every day, right? And this kind of actually set the tempo and pace for how I viewed the industry, how my work kind of was structured out as well. It made me to think big picture, small picture, and that's something you also come to learn when you come into any kind of creative industry. It's very easy to be very tunnel vision, but you also kind of need to see what's happening left and right of you. And then, this one was another fun project we did last year, which is called Adopt a Keg. And it's so cool because this was one of the few projects that really allowed us Malaysians to kind of have a bigger say in global brands as well. What happens, you all know the lockdown, right? And a lot of people who like going out to have a good time weren't able to do so. But these bars and pubs were also suffering. They had all this beer in hand and they were not selling it. And beer, just like any other product, has a shelf life. So what can I do to clear it out? What can I do to establish confidence between the consumer and also the supplier? And what happened was that we came across this idea of, well, what if we could get people to adopt the keg? Because there's already all these kegs sitting there, and it was just a simple mechanic. You adopt a keg and you basically can redeem them once the lockdown was over. And it was just a simple beer wallet of sorts, and they loved it. That kind of built to another thing. And what happened was Carlsberg liked it so much, they launched it off at Denmark, where Carlsberg is from, and then it went to different parts of the world, across Europe, to Australia, and also Southeast Asia as well. This is something really fun, and it just stemmed. Necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? And this is one idea that stemmed from there. But being able to do that was what allowed us to also work on the Liverpool cans and other global projects. So this was really fun working with Liverpool, and I'm not a Liverpool fan, but they were winning. I was on that same what do you call that, bandwagon. So yeah, it was kind of fun. And yeah, Volvo to date, I would say, is my most favorite brand to work on, mostly because of the clients. I don't know if it's a mindset that they've kind of established across all the offices or not, but what is so nice is that they are people who, they really want you to push the limits. They really want you to explore. They are very respectful of creative initiatives. Anything that is out of their brand dictionary or any of their parameters, they're more than happy to entertain it. And this is one of the things we were able to do. Green Planet, given that cars are the biggest source of pollution, what can we do, even if it's small amount of things, but how could these small things then add up to make sure the brand is much more sustainable? And currently Volvo is the brand that's kind of headlining that whole idea of moving towards electricity and being more sustainable, being more green. So this was kind of a fun project where we were just able to change everything to green and also make the green trust calculator. And we even got to shoot for the first time a Malaysian film for a global brand. And yeah, it's crazy because once you see those shots, they don't look like they're from Malaysia, but they're all from Malaysia. Should I play that, or maybe?
Sure, no problem. You
Okay.
can go ahead and play the, yeah, I think maybe if you shared. Okay, yeah, the
Okay,
sound is working.
Online and grow your business with Wix e-commerce. Create a beautiful storefront.
For generations, Volvo has been a pioneer of safety. Today, nothing needs protection more than our planet. Volvo Green Planet is about being a more sustainable brand. We begin with the Green Drive, a carbon-friendlier way of test driving. To champion cleaner air, we're providing green seeds for all of our customers to plant and grow. With the Green Terrest calculator, you can now determine your carbon footprint value while being effectively sustainable. Volvo has also revised other aspects of the business. Our headquarters and dealerships are now free from single-use plastic. We have also gone paperless, enabling customers to view brochures digitally. The drive to become greener is part of our bigger recharged journey. From 2020 onwards, every single one of our plug-in hybrid electric vehicles will come with the Recharge badge and name. By 2025, we aim to reduce the life cycle climate footprint per car by 40% and ensure that 50% of all our new cars are electric powered. And by 2040, Volvo aspires to be a climate neutral car company. We're doing all of this to not only provide a safer planet, but also a greener, richer, and more livable one for us and the generations to come. Volvo Green Planet, freedom to move sustainably.
Yeah, so this was fun because this kind of established some confidence level to the clients that we were able to pull off global level films, or at least understand their CI and then try to convert that into local films films that can be adapted locally, basically. And then of course we went with the Safe Pledge, which is something we did last year, and it just kind of fell around those very simple premise. The safest place to be now is no longer a Volvo car, it's being at home. So with that, we just created this very simple pledge. A lot of people were going out to go get food last year, and this is when the crisis was at least at a very peak level. And this was also the same time during Ramadan, right? And so a lot of people were going out to eat. They have to get food because they've not eaten the whole day. And what happens is there's a huge influx of traffic, and that's only going to cause more cases, right? And we tapped into this one behavior where Grab found out that a lot of people are not ordering from us and rather go to shops because of that extra 5 ringgit that you have to spend, because that is a sizable amount of money and that adds up every day. So then we said, well, what if we could cut off that 5 ringgit away from, then the price that you're paying is pretty much the same as you would when you go outside. Maybe there's still a slight extra, but it gives you a stronger incentive. And so that's what we did. All we did was just get people to pledge that they would stay at home, generated chatter from that. And for everyone who pledged it, you got a $10 coupon basically. So you saved on your Grab delivery and also your extra money on spending on food. We didn't expect it to reach or have the engagement that it did, but it did. And it just shows like, okay, you can always do something very simple yet effective on social media, and that can give you back so much more in returns than doing a $1 million campaign or whatnot lah. And of course, this one now, I know this might be a bit of a 50-50 for a lot of people, but this was something I enjoyed doing because this is something that meant something. We were trying to make sure people could get vaccinated. And so what happened was the government then was basically trying to figure out how can we create a national comms and basically convince people that we should all vaccinate, and what's the reason we should vaccinate. And it all boiled down to one simple line. The whole Lindung Diri Lindung Semua concept came from, so what happened was when we started working with KJ, he would always send us these clips. Okay, this is what I spoke on this news, this is what I spoke on this news, this is the kind of narrative we need to have, because nothing was created at that point. And there was one interview he did with Astro Awani, and that's where he said like something like along the lines of, kalau kita tak lindungi diri, macam mana kita nak lindungi semua orang lain, something like that. So basically translates, if you don't protect yourself, you will never protect those around you. And sometimes that's the good thing about advertising, like you don't have to come up with the idea is there, you just got to pluck it out. And so I just took that line and say, hey, what if we use this as the whole crux of the campaign, Lindung Diri Lindung Semua, and that line kind of resonated with him, with the Prime Minister then, and that's how we ended up launching this. And yeah, we got to do a lot of fun stuff. We got to travel around Malaysia when nobody was allowed to travel. We saw how power was also being abused in a way, but it was fun. It was fun to just create something that actually was meaningful, and that's what we did. And yeah, the end. These are generally the stuff that I do. So mainly get an idea that most of my accounts revolve around Volvo and Carlsberg. These are pretty much my bread and butter. I play around with them a lot. Then there are also others like TM and so our PNG accounts that we will touch from time to time. But we have a separate team for TM and PNG, usually only when there is something, because they already have their own system that they always follow. But when they want to do something very much so Malaysian or localized, that's when we kind of go in and play around with them. Yeah, so today it was all about writing with style and layout. So I thought before I start that, maybe could give a bit of understanding or context of what our field does. And a lot of people, even myself included, even though when you're in uni and you can ask Miss Chu and Miss Zihan, they will give you so much exposure to what the industry is going to be like. So when you do get to the work, real work, you do feel like you've already been used to this, but there's always going to be a certain kind of culture shock, because there are a lot of things that you're still not used to. There are certain systems that you're not used to. As much as Miss Z and all our teachers here will always try to let you think they're there to help you, guide you, and there's always somebody you can look to kind of make sure you're going the right path. But in advertising and when you're working, sometimes you won't have that. So this is just a little bit of a ABCD of how things work in our field. Yeah, it's broken down very simple. You're always going to have a brief, you got to answer, then you got to brainstorm the idea, then you got to craft the work, and then of course you got to deliver the execution. Each has its own pros and cons, and these are basically what they are. So your brief is just like how when Ms. Z gives you your assignment sheet, okay, this is what you need to do, and these are the deliverables, these are your parameters. It's exactly that. Only now the difference is that your clients will attach money to it, and a timeline to it. Of course, you also have timeline assignments, but then of course, specific deliverables that you actually have to bring to life rather than just show proof of concepts. And of course, brainstorming is the fun part. This is what you guys would love to do. And there is also a bit of method to madness in here. Right now, you guys are still going to figure out, okay, how I can do it. What's my idea? And a lot of times, like what I used to do is sit down, pray to the sky, and hopefully something hits in my head. And then, okay, I'll go with that idea. But as time goes, you will start to realize that you're able to formulate something out of it. And of course, crafting the work, this is the part that we all hate to do and we only do it 3 days before the assignment's due. Yes, I'm looking at you guys because I did the same. But basically, this bit is actually where the grind occurs, but it can also be the most valuable part of the work because it's when you learn how to craft the work and how to be more efficient at how you craft the work, the better the outcome becomes. And of course, delivering the execution. It's not like I got it done. Here's a YouTube link. Go ahead. There's a lot of finesse. There's a lot of technicalities behind it. These are things which is great to start to pay attention to. Even now, there's a reason why when you have your CD, it has to be an MP4, not an MOV. It's not just to be anal, but that's specific reasons to why that happens. A lot of times it's because the way studio cables work, they can only accept in certain formats. There are certain limitations. Rules are rules, and it's good to learn how to abide, or at least learn how to work with them. But yeah, today's call is all about this. Writing with style and layout. And I'm not sure how many of you guys here are avid writers or love to write, but you guys are doing it on a daily basis anyways. When you text, you're writing. When you're doing your work, you're writing. When you're formulating thoughts in your head, you're writing. There's a lot of writing involved now day to day, even if it's not on pen, on paper. So how can you just kind of formulate that in a much more cohesive sense? Is what would be nice to talk about. So yeah, writing is pretty much just like art, not because it's beautiful or anything or colorful or what, but it's because it's very subjective. And yes, its beauty literally lies in the eyes of the beholder. How the person perceives their writing is what determines whether it's valuable, whether it's interesting or not. Some people like it short and sweet. Some people like when you use a lot of effusive words, a lot of fancy words, and you try to make it bunga lah, and it to each their own. That's why some people like reading comic books. That's why some people like reading token. It's to your own. But in our field, if you're looking in terms of what we do in advertising, the shorter it is, the sweeter it is, the better it is, generally. And the reason why writing, especially when you're trying to write for style, which pretty much is how short and sweet can your message be, is that one, you leave take away room for misinterpretation. Nobody can misconstrue your sentences. And the great thing about it is that it's additive rather than destructive. So if I wrote a long sentence of 20 words, right, and it doesn't fit into a certain layout, it doesn't fit into a certain format, I have to find ways to cut it. And anytime you have to cut, you're taking away from the idea. But if I have the sentence shorter and I can convey my idea, anything that I add to it is only building to the idea. It's only going to make it sound better. Sometimes, of course, it can be too much, but generally that's the concept. And let me see if I can move to the next one. Yeah, and Nike is a great example of how copy is done right, or how writing is done with style. The guys behind this are the guys at Whedon and Kennedy. Go and check them out on IG. I would consider Whedon and Kennedy, like most of us do in this industry, as the agency to be. They are like the Avengers of advertising, pretty much. They have Nike, they have all the big brands, all the coolest ads you've ever seen in the last 10 years. Chances are like 60 to 70% came from those guys. Nike will never leave them, not in the next 100 years. And it's because of the kind of work they do. Any one of these sentences here, you can break it apart in every single way you want, but the message still comes across. The shoe works if you do. I don't have to say more than that. I don't have to tell you, oh, this shoe does this. No, it just simply says that it works if you work out, stop dreaming, start working. The Colin Kaepernick one, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything, is such a powerful work. Because I'm not sure how many of you guys know what happened to Colin Kaepernick. Is this NFL player. I like watching NFL. So I was seeing this whole thing unfold during that 2017-2016 season, where he's a black quarterback and he's trying to voice out an issue, and he tried to bring it up in the normal means. Nobody wanted to hear him. So he said, okay, you know what? If you're not going to listen out to me, out to my black players, because he's like the leader of his team, right? The upper management didn't want to listen. I'm going to show it off in the field. And when he did that, all the teams kind of basically ostracized him, kicked him out. They don't want to give him a job. They don't want to do anything. Brands stopped working with him. But Nike took the opposite stand. They said, no, we're going to stick with you and we're going to make sure your story is heard. And that made Nike lose a lot of stock prices. There were people who were like, oh, Nike, what are you doing and everything. But such a strong stand and turned out with a lot of good work. And this whole no pain, no gain, just adding K and W at both sides just made so much sense, right? They like knowing pain allows you to know gain as well. It's just simple stuff like that. And another extent is probably fashion ads. Fashion ads are the most minimalist form of writing. In fact, most of these kind of fashion lifestyle ads, right? The lesser words, in fact, some won't even have words. If you notice a lot, like if you look at was this Pembury's work, you look at Ablo's work, all of these guys stuff barely have any words written. It's very straightforward, straight to the point. They let you try to tell it by visuals, but when they do add words, it's just so powerful because you don't have to tell me much. And there is also a distinction. Some do it very pretentiously. There's some who do it very effectively. Some will just add words like Gucci has no idea. They can't even set on a very specific theme every time they come out with a fashion line. They're just trying to plug in with somebody famous so that they could hype up their work. Like they would work with ASAP for a while, then they'll try to work with someone else. But that's fashion done wrong. But then you've got like people like Hermes or even Patek Philippe that know what they're doing and know how to communicate it very effectively. And these are things you will know a lot as you read, or you just explore, or you just like this kind of stuff, right? So how do you create your own style? This is one of the biggest problems that a lot of people will face when you first come to the industry, is that everyone will be throwing this word around a lot. Oh, you will figure out your own style. You need to craft or create your own style. It's so common to hear. And then you'll be like, what style? Or what writing? It's something you will realize you already have it with you. The writing bit is not something you take from outside. It's already with you. I'm sure if Miss Z marks your folios or marks your written assignment, she'll ask everyone the same topic. The answer should more or less be the same for everyone, but yet the way you guys come to that conclusion is always going to be different. How you guys craft that answer is also going to be different. That's your style. And if your style is something you're very comfortable with, stick to it. Then the point becomes of how you refine your style in a way that others can get it, others can see through it. And this is purely based off experience. This is not to do with any formula that's existed out there or any structure that exists. But for me, it tends to break down to these three things that kind of define your style of writing. Cadence, type of words used, and both eventually kind of influence the length of your sentence or the length of your copy. So if you notice the whole time when I'm talking, right, I have a certain tone, a certain tempo. So I might, it'll be broken up to certain words. So if I were to say, today I'm going to go to the market, it's only because I want to get a ticket. It's that is cadence when you have a tempo. Rappers do this all the time. Poets do this all the time. And if you notice, singers also, they do that all the time. Very few of them don't, like Billie Eilish, but that's because she's Billie Eilish. But basically, these are the things that help you kind of craft your messaging and allow people to understand your messaging far better when you have a certain tone. So sometimes when I write, I'm not just writing the word, I hear a beat. I'm not sure if anyone this thing, but I hear a beat where if like I always play with that when I craft my copy. It helps me to structure my sentences. It gives me a parameter. And of course, words. It's so normal for us all to use fancy words when we come in. Like when I work with juniors, right? It reminds me of myself, because when you come in your first project, oh, I'm going to whack all the power words I've learned. Oh, yes, juxtaposed, all these kind of things. Impervious. I'm like, okay, bro, cool story, but nobody's going to get it. Keep it simple and short. It's always going to work over everything else, because when you use fancy words, you're only trying to prove to yourself, not to the brand or the product that you're trying to help sell. And just by keeping these two in mind, you are already able to control the length or the duration of your copy so much. If instead of saying advantages or I say accrue, I can say gain, I've shortened my sentence so much. I've just shortened the time it takes for you to read it. That's the kind of thing that works lah. And this is an exercise that actually helped me a lot when I was interning, because of the seniors that I had. I was so fortunate to have really nice, great writers who were always happy to share how they work, how they think, how to craft. And these are things that I also like to use a lot. It helps. So if you guys are always keen to improve your craft, we could try it out as well. First thing is read a lot. It doesn't have to be books. That's one of the biggest misnomer. People is, oh, I need to buy books. A lot of us don't. You reading Instagram posts, that's reading. You checking out Pinterest and seeing those captions, that's reading. You going onto any website, Hypebeast or whatever it is, that's reading. Facebook comments, that's reading. YouTube comments, that's reading. Why? Reading isn't just about expanding your vocabulary. It's also you expanding your knowledge. You're getting different perspective of things. That's why I love reading YouTube comments, because I will get to see, different perspective of things, different thoughts. And then those things help in your idea, because you get to see another person's perspective of what they think of that topic. And there's always validity. It's in a way, it's like you having a discussion on a certain topic. Say you want to find out whether beer is good for your health, just go type it on YouTube and then look at the comment section. That will give you your answer. And that helps you a lot in what you're trying to craft. Of course, if you guys are fans of reading books, I would recommend these two books that have been given to me. So this was given to me by my CCO, and it's not like a stupid long thick ass book that you read. It's like super cool. Like it's just pictures and copy, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like super simple written. It's like if Hypebeast was a book, this is what it would be, So this book is pretty awesome. I would recommend anyone getting it. It's called The Copy Book by Tashan. And then this one was given to me by, actually is a student of ours, Ikwan. I'm not sure if you all know. I think Miss Chu, you know who's Ikwan, right? But she was a student of Miss Chu. It was in events and.
Was she?
Yeah, it's he. Ikwan, yeah, same batch, yeah. I think it's events and management. I think, yeah, PR and events.
Okay.
Yeah. So his dad is a bit of a legend in the industry, so when I stayed over his house for Raya once, the next day, Raya breakfast, he gave me this as a gift. It was quite nice, and this was given to him by what's her name? Gosh, I'm forgetting the name. The most famous creative we ever had in our
Yasmin Ahmad.
Yes. So this is her. She gave this to him as a gift back when his days in LB, and so then he gave this to me. He's like, okay, I'm done in this industry and you're getting into it, so have a go. So it's kind of fun lah.
So you've been bestowed with the gift.
Bestowed. But yeah, it's really fun because reading really helps with your writing. They go hand in hand, right? But just the form of reading can be anything. And this is one of the writing exercises that is so useful. Try to give yourself a beginning and an end. It can be anything. And give yourself 50 words or 100 words or 150 words. You set the limit to fill in the blanks in between. And you will notice every time you do, even if it's the same start, same end, the more you practice with this, you will come up with different stories. You'll get better stories and you will become much more effective in how you tell your story. And that's why repetition is key. Why we do this in high school, why do this in uni? You're sometimes seeing the same thing being taught over and over again, or being told to do the same thing over and over again. It's not that they want to imprint that knowledge, it's also how you go about gaining or expressing that knowledge. And that's why whatever work we do, it always seems to just improve if the more we work on it. And this helps a lot. And another fun exercise is breaking things down. So you guys can always do this. Find something you guys like watching. Find something that you guys like looking at, reading, anything. It could be a film. Maybe, I think the new season of You is out. Yeah, everyone's talking about it all the time. So if you guys like You, try breaking down then one episode of You into 20 words or less. What is that entire episode all about? When you can break things down and simplify it in a way that people can understand, then you're writing with style. And then why I don't even touch with layout here in this entire deck is because when you can control and craft your style and control the way you write and the way amount of words you use, you can adapt your messaging to any kind of layout. if I'm only given 5, like some hit, like for example, if you're doing key visuals on Facebook, you're only allowed to have 20% of the image be filled with copy. It's not much, but with that amount of understanding, you can do that. When you have to write SEOs, you are given like 60 characters, I think 60 to 80 characters. Yeah, you can do that. Facebook, for sponsored posts, you also have a certain limit, 120 characters, I think you can do that. And most of you guys are on Twitter anyway, so you guys know how to write short and how to get your message across. So it's just that. And yeah, that's pretty much how writing with style can be. I'm free to take questions now. Hang on. Yeah, you guys can see this ad on your own. It's just something, it could be any ad. It can be anything that you want to add. So yeah, that's my side of things. I'm more than happy to take questions.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Selva. It's been a wonderful presentation, and I think a lot of us can take heed from the tips in copywriting, how to write, what inspires, and so on. Oh, okay. We have the first question, okay, which is, what is the title of the second book? I believe it's the yellow one. The yellow one. Maybe you can I'll write it out if I can for the students. Yeah.
Copywriting, successful writing for design, advertising, and marketing.
Writing for design, advertising, and marketing.
Yeah, it's by Mark Shaw.
Oh, Mark Shaw. Okay, I'll type it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so reading. Reading is imperative for this. Okay, so but before I do have some questions, maybe it'll be helpful. But does anyone have any further questions for Mr. Selva? Maybe you can unmute, or you can also type it in the chat if you can. Right, so let's just hi Adam. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Selva, I have a question about the ABCD principle that you showed us earlier.
Yeah.
Do you think that this ABCD principle can be applied to anything other than advertising?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any. Okay, I actually came from finance and economics. Miss Z knows, I think. Yeah, I was studying in Melbourne U. I was doing a double degree. So there was a whole different world from this, and then I came here. This is something I like, but that's the only field I can kind of try to juxtapose with or relate to. Yeah, it works. It's the same thing. You're going to be given a certain brief for a project, and then it's how you break down that project and answer it. But of course, each one will have their own nuances, but they all kind of work similarly. Even anything you do on your own probably would work the same thing, like if you've got a problem, like, I don't know, what is a good example? Say you have your girlfriend's mad at you for something, right? That's a brief. How you go about solving that brief is your choice. And once you figure out the idea, how you go about executing your idea, that's your execution. And of course, there are specific ways that maybe she likes you to take out to a French restaurant, not to an Italian restaurant. That's not a thing. That is knowing your delivering your execution. So yeah, I could say it works in a way. Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Anyways, don't call me
That's a good
sir.
example.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Adam. All right. I have a question. I think it's another Adam, or is it the same one? There's one Adam here. Okay. He also asked another question. Okay, sensitive question, but since you're from finance, so finance background, do advertisers earn money based on commission or ...
I mean, no, I wish we did, but I also wish we didn't. No, we earn fixed salaries, but okay, one thing is a rarity in our industry is to get bonuses, but there are agencies that do reward. So when your company is doing well, and let's say you guys have been a part of that, they will reward you. They will give you a substantial amount, but there's no commission. You have a fixed pay, but that pay is always reviewed every year. So there's always that journey, there's growth. I dare say this is something coming from personal experience. Yeah, my dad was an engineer by profession, So he believed that engineering degree was end all be all. Do that degree, and then after that, you want to do anything else, you can. I'm sure Mizzy, all of you guys here can attest to this, right? When you're in high school, you're always told about the arts, so mass comm. You go there when you can't do science and the money is not so good. But I swear to God, the starting pay of any mass comm industry is higher than the starting pay of any science-based or STEM industry, unless
I
it's very local.
concur.
Yeah, way more. Like when my father first heard my starting pay, he was like, "Wow, that's like 40% more than what starting pay is for an engineer." So yeah, you
I
guys
think
did
that
the right thing.
I think that that's quite you know, people always underestimate mass comm as being like sort of like the last resort
Yeah,
usually, you know, like, oh, I can't do maths, I can't do science. To be honest, I started out like that. And
yeah.
then my dad's like, what are you gonna do with mass comm? But at the end of the day, I enjoyed it and it became part of my career, and I'm teaching it. So I think you are a walking testimony of that, and you know, earning doing what you like. Okay, so that's great. Oh, we do have some questions. Some more questions. Okay, Haruna is asking, do you have any tips how to create, I suppose, an awesome portfolio, and how do you concentrate on showcase the writing, the copy? How do you want to highlight that in your portfolio?
The answer is in the question just right. My first okay, so I had 3 job offers when I first started. After I finished, 3 places, and Gray was the only place that I met the CCO at a after party. So then we just talked, and that was networking lah. The other 2 places, actually the other one, TVWA, was also Naga was also the same. But the one that I really liked the most was for Merdeka LHS. These are the guys who run the Coca-Cola account. The CEO is named Tony Savarimutu, and every week he would appear in the center middle page of the Star newspaper. He would have an article, a column spread for himself. So he was pretty much like the first advertising entity I knew. And what I did was I just wrote him a poem. I just wrote him a poem almost similar to what you guys saw earlier in my intro. You know, I'm closer to 30 than I am to 20. I wrote something in rhyme and I just added with that one line. If I've got you to read up to this point, then I've done then that's advertising done right. And within half an hour, he contacted me. He called me up. He's like, okay, can you come tomorrow for an interview and stuff? So what I've noticed, right? Don't show anything. Just show your power of writing. If you can craft them power and make it very creative, they'll like it. You don't have to make it do like the traditional CV that people like to do in a PDF. Oh, this is the work I've done. No. Just show the work itself. Don't show what you've worked on. Show the work. And a lot of times in our industry, we love that more than, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. No, they like you just directly showing that. Even if it's super basic, they will love it. They love it more than all these other things.
Do you mean to be able to think on your toes and
Yeah,
you know, what kind of platforms that maybe you want to showcase your writings?
yeah. Just even if I can guaranteely say this, you have a better chance of getting a job interview, you writing a story or poem or something, than you writing a CV about the works that you've done. Because 90% of the industry is going to do that. 10% is going to do this. And in our industry, we're always looking for that. Oh, what's unique? What's different? And when you see that, then they will go like, oh, wow, okay, I want to know and talk to this guy. And that was what happened. And that's also not for me. Many people in our field also, I'm not saying many, but sizable people in our field also kind of approach that way. Yeah.
Nice, so that's pretty cool. Thank you so much, Selva. Well, there is Sophia has several questions for you. Okay, she asked, since you've worked on a green campaign, I believe that's several. I think I'm not sure. Sophia, is it the Volvo one or the plastic diet? What are the steps that must be taken to avoid negative greenwashing? And secondly, what should I be mindful if a campaign's topic is sensitive to certain groups of people? And wow, okay, 3 questions. Lastly, what are your thoughts on the I believe most recent Libras campaigns? I hope you're talking about the Bunga Telang one, Sophia. Yeah, so yeah, those are from Sophia alone. Yeah, 3 questions.
Yeah, it's great questions, because every one of those things were questions that kind of propped up while working on these campaigns. So the negative greenwashing, yeah, that was one of the biggest key points when we were already presenting it to the global level, right? Because Volvo as a global brand faces this every day. There's always somebody who's coming in and saying, oh, you claim to be doing this, but you're not. Because they got all the time in the world, right? And they're like pointing, but these are valid points that they're pointing out, lah. You're just greenwashing, your cars are still using petrol, you're not doing this. I've been to a sales room before. So the only way you can avoid it is that you have to vet your ideas. So what we tend to do, and what's also great with Volvo, is that they have contacts with all these green organizations, and these people actually sit down to do the homework to find out whether what you're proposing can work, or is it just a facade. So doing your homework on that is absolutely necessary. The bit on mindful if a campaign's topic can be viewed as sensitive. So I feel like question 2 and 3 are very similar, and question 3 is literally what we've been talking about in our company the whole day this morning. We've like, there's a long chat going on this, and we're crafting memes on this. We are trying to see how we can also capitalize on the situation.
I think
And-
maybe we can explain a bit what it's all about. I think not everyone are aware. Yeah.
So basically, Libres, and it's funny you also bring up, because when I was interning at BBDO Miss, the account that they held was Libres, and Libres was actually one of the first campaigns I worked on as well.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that time then is all linked, because what the Libres whole principal idea was, how can you basically make period become a more conversational topic, especially in societies where they deemed it taboo. And what they did was that, of course, that time itself, in fact, if you go to Libres Malaysia and you go back to 2018, you'll see me in a picture in a motorbike, like the roti man. So the buns were supposed to be euphemizing tampons, pads and everything. And the way they did it was really funny. And I remember the same issue being held by the creative team then, where they were like, how can I say that, will this deem sensitive to this topic? They were trying to do so many things. They were trying to do the whole roti and jam euphemism, roti being roti and jam being jam, and all of these things. And it was so sensitive, but they were trying to push the line. And now we are at this point, and it's so unfair, because you guys should go Google #womb stories. I'm going to type it here. This work, Womb Stories, has basically won all kinds of awards this year in Cannes and everywhere. Every single celebrity is talking, every single brand is talking about this, and how they talked about the whole. There was a specific. Sorry, my knowledge on this is very shallow, but the pains faced by women when having period, and the stigmas around it, the medical pains as well. Like, they went to specific bits about how they visualized it was so powerful. It made everyone else understand the topic. And they were doing things in that line. When the world is celebrating this, it's unfair to see us Malaysians be taking a step back. Like, the people who complained about it were a very, very small, they're not even a vocal minority. They're just a group that, oh, I don't like this because this flower looks like porn. It doesn't look like porn, dude. Like, but they did that. And this is also another problem with people in the brand side of things, client side of things. And I think a lot of you guys here are going to be probably entering, a lot of you guys here are going to either go to the servicing side of things, where you work for the clients or with the clients. A lot of you are also going to be working as clients, right? And my only suggestion is this, don't be afraid. Many times we have had to face clients, oh, I'm afraid that what this one guy would post on Facebook, and that's going to, instead behavior that prevents us from actually creating thought-provoking work. The same thing happened with Carlsberg as well. Last year, or 2 years ago, sorry. Last year, we were supposed to do this new Deepavali ad, and they didn't allow us to have women in it, especially Indian women, because 2 years ago, during a Deepavali ad, they had one Indian woman, and she was not even holding beer, but some dude saw that video and then commented on this this pro Indian group, and they just made a statement, oh, how can they show Indian women in an alcohol ad? And that became a huge thing, and they're like, oh, okay, we won't have Indian women in ad anymore. But you're like, bro, have you been to Bangsa or not? Like, if you go to Bangsa, it's like you see women of all shapes and colors and sizes all drinking alcohol. It's such a normal thing. So why are you doing this? Every Indian woman I know in my age drinks. Like, why? And you doing that is only going to alienate the brand. And I feel like Libres, yes. So what I just found out from the guys at Libres, the client side, they just texted me and said like, they're not happy with what they did. This is the working team, yeah. They're not happy with the stance that they had to take, that they had to backtrack, because that makes them look like cowards. And they actually kind of sound from the global guys, because the global guys are like, dude, stand. This is literally where you have to make a stand. This is where you tell like, look, I'm going to make a stand. I'm not going to remove my ad. But the higher ups are very, very scared, because there are certain politics involved. There are certain things that is beyond their control, but a lot of it is driven by fear. But the good thing is that the Malaysian public has clearly shown they're not backwards driven, that this is something that we have to talk about normally. I mean, it's good like what you do too, like you're bringing up this topic, right? Bring it out anywhere you go, buy their products, talk about it. And these are the kind of conversation that will help. And Sophia, I believe you're a Malay woman as well. So this topic might be even more sensitive for you. The cultural background and nuances that you'll have to face is even more. So it's good that you're bringing it out, talking about it. We all should lah. And I think it's great lah.
All
I hope
right,
that
thank
answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in relations to that, as well, do you think that maybe this is a sensitive question, but I guess since we're on it, do you think our is it more of our culture, of our regulations that constrain this kind of creativity?
Culture, I think is. I've seen this one thing is that the Asian culture is so subservient. It's crazy. It's almost unfair. We are the only, not say Malaysia, but that's the Asian culture is the only place where we think working more than 9 to 5 is normal, is okay. We think working weekend is okay. It's very weird how and when I speak to colleagues from overseas, when we have global calls, and their perspective of work is so different from ours. One of my good friends, when she graduated, she was also from Taylor's, but she went to Taylor's design school. And when she was done, she and her family emigrated to Canada. So we were kind of tracking our industry. We got into the industry in the same time, September that time. So we're kind of tracking it together, and our experiences were so different. In overseas, in Western countries, or even Singapore to some extent is trying to do that. When we work with a client, right? Your client, yes, is your paymaster, but you're not answerable to your client. You're not beholden to your client. The client is coming to you to help solve a problem they cannot solve. They are not creative. They need a creative solution. So they come to you to help them. And so they see you as a partner. Here, because of the Asian subservient culture, oh, you're the paymaster. So whatever you say, I'll do lah. You want me to stand here and dance for you? I'll do that for you. That mindset has been ingrained. But it's only going to change. It's changing a bit, but it's only going to change as time goes on. And you guys are the next generation of creatives and leaders and clients, right? So you guys have to go in with that mindset. You guys will have to put up with some shit. But when the time comes where you can call the shots, you change the narrative lah.
Right, yeah. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, we do have a question from Alinia. By doing advertising, can we okay, maybe I'll rephrase this, I suppose. In terms of being in advertising, can we do other things like do graphic design or take up graphic design as our job or position? I'm not entirely sure what this means, but I believe like aside from copywriting, could we maybe dwell in graphic design perhaps? Is that part of a copywriter's role? I suppose, I mean, how does it work? I think this is what the question does. I mean, are we involved in the creative and also the conceptualization? Right? Maybe if you can share, what does a copywriter do in general?
Right. Yeah, you can. But whether you want to or not is another question. If you're ready, prepare for the consequences, because they'll give you those jobs. Oh, copywriter who can also do designing. Okay, here you go more, but it's great. If let's say you're talking, as Ms. Z said, if you're talking about being a writer, can you also do graphic designing? Yes, you can. If you have the skill, you can do. There are a lot of people who studied design who end up being copywriters. There are a lot of people who have done copywriting or just focus on writing who've then gone on to actually become great designers as well. It's always good to have that as an additional skill. It gives you the opportunity to basically, because copy and art are like bread and butter, you know. So you're only one half of the other. If you can have both, you are literally going to be God in this industry. People who have an understanding of both, they tend to fly up very fast in this industry because they can answer both sides or see both sides. And freelance job, a lot of good money, you're not taxed. So yeah, it helps a lot. A lot of them also do that. Graphic designing as a side extra freelancing job.
All right, that's fantastic. We are in good time. We have about 4 minutes before we end the session. We are open to one last question. Anyone would like to tap anything? Okay, that's one more. I think this is from Fiona. When you started your internship, which one is better? Do you think applying for a small agency is better than a bigger, what do you call that, full-fledged full service agency
Okay.
to gain work experience? Sorry, I didn't finish
Okay.
the question.
This might take up the balance 4 minutes or so if you don't mind.
No worries, no worries,
There's
no
no right
problem.
or wrong answer, but I can give you the pros and cons, and then you can decide for yourself. When interning, it depends on if you're very clear of what you want to do. It's great to go to a smaller boutique agency because then you can get more working exposure. But if you want to get an understanding of the industry, how the industry works, it's better to go to a long-running agency, like a bigger boy. Same thing when it comes to once you're done with the internship and you want to work. If you ask me, go work for a well-known industry agency, but with less amount of people, like 30 to 50. Don't go for companies that have more than 100 employees, because then it'll take you a longer time to get the exposure you need. So that's why boutique agency. But the thing about boutique agencies, they become very specialized. You only do very niche things. They will mostly handle on digital stuff, maybe on-ground stuff. They won't do a lot of different things. So go for something in between both of them, right? Like Gray is one of them, actually. We are a global agency, but we have like a working team of only 50 people. So we're not big in terms of size, but that gives you the opportunity to do bigger work faster because there's not enough people. So there are a few industry or agencies like that. Look for them. Even within Malaysia, we have local industries like that, like Fisherman and Co. There's one other, I think, gosh, I forgot the name. They're in Bangsa. Loki, I think this is Loki. They are like an example of a good boutique agency. Yeah. So find something in between, unless you already know what you want to do.
All right. Okay. So the summary is, I guess, go for something that probably would be closest to your skill set, maybe.
Yeah. If you know exactly already, go ahead. If not, try to go something in between. Yeah. Ask them what's their, it's a good question to ask them what is their working size like what's the amount of people in the company. Then you can kind of get an idea. Anything more than 100, if you want to start and you're very hungry and eager, I would advise maybe not unless you know the people there and they're like, okay, I want to mentor you and stuff like that. If not, try to find for smaller teams. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I guess that's the last question for today, unless we have one more. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, if there is one more so far, going once, going twice. Okay, perhaps not. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Selva. It was a wonderful sharing from you, and it's great to see an alumni doing so well in the industry. I think there is quite a misconception about especially actually from my students about, okay, can I make money? Can I work in advertising? Is it a thriving industry? So you have already answered all of that with your projects, with your achievements in such a short time after graduation. So I think we've reassured some of the students here of their career path. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So I hope in the future we can work on it again. Sorry, have little kids running around, so they're banging on the door. So anyway, I would like to thank you for sparing your time with us. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I hope that if there is any question, would you be able to share your email address in
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I'll just put it down here. Hey guys, I
Or
enjoyed.
yeah.
Thanks for listening out. My email is there. If you guys also are looking for internship opportunities, just email over lah.
All right. Thank you so much. So any
Thank you.
questions in regards to this session, you guys can say, oh, you can send to me if you're shy, and then I can forward it to Mr. Selva. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's the end of our session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Selva. We hope to see you again as usual. Right. I'll definitely drag you again for another session.
Great.
Thanks for sparing your kind thoughts with us, and hope to see you around soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Take
Miss.
care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye.
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 Was it made out